Damn him. Damn me for believing him. My name is Kelly Cohen, 38, pharmacist, ex-wife, and survivor of a marriage built on lies. What began as love turned into manipulation, betrayal, and $3 million that almost destroyed me. But I'm still here. And if you think you know how this ends, think again. Because I changed everything. I grew up as an only child in a warm and well-off family. My parents were both doctors who owned a reputable clinic in our hometown. My childhood was filled with warmth, safety, and the quiet assurance that I was deeply loved. I never had to fight for attention, never had to raise my voice to be heard. I was their world, and they were mine. Even though they had hopes I would follow in their footsteps and become a doctor, they supported me when I chose pharmacy instead. "You're still in the healing profession," my dad had smiled, patting my head gently. That simple approval meant the world to me. After graduation, I landed a job at a major pharmaceutical company in New York. It was a big move, both geographically and emotionally. I was proud, but often lonely. I missed home, especially my mom's gentle presence and the way she used to hum while watering her plants in the morning. Then, everything changed. It was a rainy Tuesday when I received the call. A stranger's voice on the line, trembling slightly, told me there had been an accident. My mother, my anchor, was gone. No warning, no goodbye, just gone. The days that followed were a blur. I can't remember what I ate or who I spoke to. My father and I clung to each other like two drowning souls in a storm, drifting in grief. We didn't speak much, there were no words left. I would often wake up in the middle of the night to check on him only to find him sitting in the dark, staring at her photo. How does a person survive this kind of emptiness? And yet, I survived. Barely. And then I met Jack. He came into my life during one of the loneliest winters I can remember. We met through a mutual friend at a quiet little cafe downtown. He was warm, simple, and so different from the ambitious professionals I usually met in the city. He talked about family with a sparkle in his eye. He made me laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months. It was disarming. At first, I kept my guard up. Was I truly ready to let someone in again? What if I was just clinging to the first kind face I saw? But then, one evening, as we were walking back after dinner, he reached out and held my hand. No words, no expectations, just the comfort of warmth and shared silence. I remember whispering, more to myself than to him, "Why does this feel so easy, yet so terrifying?" He squeezed my hand gently and smiled. "Hey," he said softly, "you don't have to be okay all the time." In that moment, I almost believed that love could heal everything. But even as my heart leaned into his, a shadow of doubt lingered. Was this real? Would it last? Or was I just filling the void my mother left behind? Still, when Jack asked if he could meet my father, my heart skipped a beat. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He nodded, eyes steady. "I want to do things right." For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to hope. The first time Jack met my father, I watched them both closely. One, a man who had always been my rock, the other, someone who might become part of the foundation of my future. We met at my father's favorite restaurant. Jack wore a crisp white shirt that I had picked out, and his palms were slightly damp when he held my hand under the table. "Relax," I whispered, trying to calm him even though my heart was pounding just as fast. My father studied him quietly, his eyes unreadable. Then, after a long pause, he smiled. "I've heard you supported Kelly when her mother passed. Thank you," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Please continue to take care of her." Jack sat up straighter, his voice steady. "I will, I promise to make her happy." My father nodded, and in that moment I saw something soften in his expression. For the first time in months, there was hope in his eyes. Later that night, as Jack and I walked home, I looked up at him and asked quietly, "Do you think we're rushing things?" Jack looked surprised. "No, why? Are you scared?" I hesitated. "A little. I lost someone I thought I'd have forever. I'm afraid of losing again." Jack stopped walking. He turned to face me, placed his hands on my shoulders and said gently, "Kelly, I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you want me to." I didn't reply. I just hugged him tightly and let myself believe, for now. A week later, we visited Jack's family to formally announce our engagement. His mother greeted me at the door wearing heavy makeup and a bright red blouse that didn't quite match the occasion. She looked me over slowly, head to toe, her expression neutral but unreadable. "Marriage, huh?" she said, crossing her arms. "You're Kelly? Aren't you a little Plain for Jack? And older, right? I stood frozen, unsure if I'd misheard, but Jack quickly stepped in. Mom, Kelly works at EM Pharmaceuticals. Her father owns a clinic. He even gave us a new apartment as a wedding gift. Her eyes lit up instantly. Oh, why didn't you say that earlier? She exclaimed. Well, that changes everything. Welcome to the family, dear. I forced a smile. Is that all it took? Money and a nice apartment? The unease I'd felt earlier deepened. Still, Jack was overjoyed. He didn't notice the tight smile I gave his mother, or the way I looked down at my hands during dinner, twisting my ring nervously. Was I being too sensitive? Maybe she was just surprised. Maybe things would get better. We moved into the apartment my father had gifted us, a stunning unit in a luxury building overlooking the river. I loved that space. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where I could build a new beginning. Can you believe this is ours? I said the first night, curling into Jack's chest. He smiled. It's perfect, like you. I wanted to believe in that version of us. Warm, simple, filled with whispered promises and soft beginnings. But slowly the cracks began to show. Jack didn't know how to cook, or clean, or do laundry. You're better at it anyway, he'd say with a shrug. Besides, I'm tired from work. At first, I did everything, because I loved him, because I thought it was temporary, because I wanted peace. But deep inside, a small voice was beginning to ask, what happens if I'm the only one trying? The first few months of our marriage passed quietly. I woke up each morning before Jack, made coffee, packed his lunch, and saw him off with a kiss on the cheek. I'd whisper, have a good day, even when I barely had the energy to smile. At night I returned to dishes in the sink, laundry waiting to be folded, and trash that hadn't been taken out. Sorry, I forgot, Jack would say, kicking off his shoes and heading straight for the couch. Work was brutal today. I nodded. Do you want dinner? Sure, anything's fine. I moved around the kitchen with practiced silence, chopping vegetables, boiling rice, watching the clock. I was used to this rhythm, but something about doing it all for someone who barely noticed began to wear on me. Is this what marriage is supposed to feel like? By the end of our first year, I was doing everything: cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, paying bills. Jack was always tired, always too busy, always too quick to say, "You're just better at these things, babe." I tried talking to him once, one late Sunday afternoon as we sat by the window. The sky outside was a pale orange, soft with fading light. I chose that moment because I thought, maybe, just maybe, he would listen. I'm exhausted. Jack, I said quietly. I need help. I can't keep doing everything. He didn't look up from his phone. You work less hours than me, he replied. And I'm not good at cleaning anyway. Why stress yourself out? Just let it go. I stared at him, stunned. You think this is just about chores? He finally looked at me, confused. Then what is it about? How do you explain the loneliness that comes from living beside someone who no longer sees you? I wanted to scream, but I swallowed the words and smiled instead. Never mind, I said. Forget I brought it up. And so I adjusted. I stopped expecting flowers on anniversaries. I stopped asking for help. I stopped bringing up how tired I was. But something inside me was changing, subtly, quietly, like water seeping into the cracks of a wall. Then came Mother's Day. It was our 3rd year of marriage, and I wanted to do something thoughtful for Jack's mother. Despite her cold remarks when we first met, I still believed in trying. I picked out a beautiful scarf, elegant, soft, in her favorite color. I wrapped it carefully and included a handwritten note. That evening she called me. What is this? Her tone was sharp. It's not even a name brand? Are you trying to insult me? I blinked. I thought you'd like it. It's very high quality. Well, I don't care about quality, I care about brands. This is ridiculous. I hung up, my hands trembling. When Jack came home, I told him everything. He shrugged. She's just particular. Just give her what she wants next time. It's easier. But she was rude, I said. She insulted me. Jack sighed. Don't take it personally. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Those words echoed in my chest like thunder. Was I making everything bigger than it was, or was I the only one still trying? By our 5th year, his mother started visiting more often, sometimes uninvited, sometimes with demands. Money for this, a new bag for that. And Jack always gave in, smiling like a little boy desperate for approval. Meanwhile, I tightened our grocery budget, skipped takeout, stayed late at work, sacrificed sleep. She's your mother, I said once, tired. But I'm your wife. He glanced at me, blank. So? So what am I doing here, Jack? Why am I the only one sacrificing while you live like everything's fine? It had been a while since I last saw my father. Life had become a blur, of deadlines, dinners, laundry loads, and keeping up appearances. I hadn't noticed how much time had passed until one day he called me. His voice was softer than I remembered. "Kelly," he said. "Can we meet sometime this week? There's something I need to talk to you about. In person." I paused. "Is everything okay?" A long silence. "No," he finally said. We met at a small cafe near his hospital, quiet, tucked away behind a row of trees. I ordered chamomile tea. He didn't order anything. He looked thinner, his skin paler, his eyes tired but gentle. "Dad, what's going on?" He smiled at me the way he always had when I was little, that smile that meant brace yourself. "I've been diagnosed with terminal cancer, sweetheart. It's already too far. They said treatment won't help now." I didn't hear the rest of his words. My vision blurred, my ears rang. I reached for his hand, gripping it as tightly as I could. "No," I whispered. No, that can't be true." He simply patted my hand like he did when I was a child scared of thunder. "Kelly," he said softly, "this is life. Sometimes it takes away more than we expect. But I'm not afraid." How can he be so calm? How can he say that like he's already made peace? Tears streamed down my face. "But I'm not ready. I still need you." "I know," he said, "but you'll be okay." From that day on, my life changed. I rearranged everything, my schedule, my commitments, my energy, just to be at the hospital as often as I could. Some nights I would sleep in the chair beside his bed, holding his hand while he drifted in and out of sleep. Work was flexible. My heart was not. At home, things were the same, but colder. I told Jack about my father's condition. He barely blinked. "That's rough," he said. "Let me know if there's anything you need." I looked at him, hoping for more. A hug, a question, anything. There was nothing. How can someone stand so close to your pain and not feel it at all? He visited my father once. Stayed 10 minutes, said he had to get back to work. That night, as I washed the dishes alone, I stared out the window and asked myself silently, what if Jack had been the one in the hospital bed? Would I even cry? Weeks passed. My father grew weaker. He started speaking more slowly, sometimes slipping into silence mid-sentence. One evening, as I sat beside him reading aloud from an old medical journal he used to love, he suddenly touched my arm. "Kelly, how is your marriage with Jack going?" I froze. The words lodged in my throat like a stone. I couldn't answer. I didn't have to. He smiled faintly. "I see. I'm trying," I said, my voice small. "I thought it would get better, but I'm tired all the time, and sometimes I feel like I'm living with a stranger." My father nodded slowly. "You don't have to endure what makes you smaller." Tears burned my eyes. "But what will people say? What if I end up alone?" He squeezed my hand gently. "Then you'll have peace. Peace is better than company that makes you feel invisible." 3 months later, he was gone. I held his hand until his very last breath. I kissed his forehead, whispered thank you, and promised to protect the life he'd given me. But when I returned home that night, everything felt wrong. Jack was on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Hey," he said, "sorry about your dad." Then, without looking up, "Do you know where the remote is?" That was the moment something inside me broke. The funeral was quiet, dignified, just the way my father would have wanted it. Old friends, former patients, colleagues, they came with flowers, kind words, and silent nods of respect. Even Jack and his mother showed up. They stood at the back, offering rehearsed condolences, like actors playing a part in someone else's story. I didn't cry that day, not because I wasn't grieving, but because the weight of it all had gone beyond tears. I felt like a hollow echo walking in my own skin. The morning after the funeral, I received a call from a lawyer. "Mrs. Cohen," he said gently, "your father left a will. We'd like to arrange a meeting to go over the details." I almost forgot how to speak. He left something for me?" "Yes," the voice confirmed. "It's quite significant." At the lawyer's office, I sat quietly as they handed me a stack of documents. After taxes and final deductions, my father had left me over $3 million. I blinked at the number as if it had been written in a different language. He invested smartly, the lawyer explained. In real estate, medical properties, clinics. He planned this. Even when he was dying, he was still protecting me. I took the documents home, still numb, still unsure what to do with all that meant. I spread the papers out on the desk and sat down, trying to read, but exhaustion took me. I fell asleep on the couch, a blanket thrown over my legs, the files untouched. That's when everything changed. I woke up to laughter, loud, unfamiliar, Jack's voice and his mother's. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. Something felt wrong. Jack appeared with a wide grin, holding the documents I had left on the table, my inheritance papers. "Jack," I said, my voice still heavy from sleep. "What are you doing?" He waved the papers with a smug smile. "Kelly, well done, this is huge." I stared at him. "Did you go through my things, without asking?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic," he said, brushing me off. "I was just curious." Then came the words that made my blood run cold. "I've decided we'll split the inheritance, half for me, half for Mom." "What?" I blinked. "You've decided?" My mother-in-law chimed in from the kitchen, her voice chipper. $3 million! Now we can live like royalty, maybe even get that Mercedes we saw." I stood frozen. "Did you just say, split it? You do know that money came from my father, right?" Jack looked irritated. "Kelly, don't be selfish, we're married, what's yours is mine, it's only fair." I felt my heart pound, not from love, but from something far more primal. "You insulted my father at his funeral, Jack, and now you're standing here, treating his final gift like a lottery win?" "Oh, come on," he laughed. "Don't be so emotional, he's gone, let's not waste time." My voice dropped. "You called him a doddering old man? Did you really think I wouldn't remember that?" Jack shrugged. "He was. Is this the man I married? Was he always like this, and I just didn't want to see it?" I turned slowly, walked toward the bedroom, and closed the door behind me. For the first time in years, I didn't cry. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. What would my father say if he could see this? Then I heard Jack's voice through the door. "Hey babe, let's transfer that money to our joint account tomorrow, okay?" That night, as they laughed in the living room, I opened my laptop and began making a plan. A quiet one. A final one. I wasn't going to fight with words anymore. I was going to end it with action. The morning after Jack read through my inheritance documents like a menu at a 5-star restaurant, I woke up before sunrise. They were still asleep. He and his mother sprawled across the couch, a pile of luxury shopping bags at their feet, as if the money was already theirs. I stood by the doorway for a long time, watching them. This is my home. My father's gift. And they're treating it like a free buffet. Later that afternoon, while they were out shopping again, planning some ridiculous tropical vacation, I did it. I changed the locks. That evening, they returned in matching aloha shirts, sunglasses still perched on their heads. Jack pressed the code at the door. It didn't work. He tried again. Still nothing. "What the hell?" he muttered. I watched silently from the other side of the door. For the first time in a long time, I felt still. Clear. He banged harder. "Kelly, open the door." I pressed the intercom button calmly. "It won't open, Jack. I changed the locks." "What?" his mother screeched. "Are you crazy? Let us in this instant." I kept my voice steady. "Why don't we talk? There's a cafe nearby. I'll meet you there in 15 minutes. "Unbelievable," Jack hissed, but I watched as they turned away from the door. At the cafe, they sat waiting, red-faced, furious, but still dressed like vacation influencers. I walked in slowly, wearing black. Simple, clean. "You've lost your mind," his mother spat the moment I sat down. "What kind of daughter-in-law?" "I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore," I said, sliding a paper across the table. "That's a divorce petition." Jack blinked. "What?" "I've already filled my part. You can sign now or we can take it to court." He laughed. A bitter, nervous laugh. "You're kidding, right? What, because of some money, you'll throw away a marriage over this?" "This isn't about the money," I said softly. "This is about respect, about the way you've treated me, about how little I seem to matter to you." His mother leaned forward. "You can't kick us out like this. We still have money in the joint account. That $50,000. I cut in. I already transferred it. That's my share of the marital property. It's over." Jack's eyes went wide. "You what?" He pulled out his phone, tapping furiously at his banking app. His face turned pale. "It's gone?" he whispered. "Where is it?" "Safe," I said. "Away from you." "You can't do this," he muttered. "Fine, divorce me, but I still get half of your inheritance." I stared at him, calm, ready. "You really don't know the law, do you?" "What?" "Inheritance from a parent, even during a marriage, is considered separate property. You don't get a cent." A long silence fell between us. His mother grabbed her phone, searching for confirmation. "She's right," she mumbled. Jack's shoulders slumped. You're really doing this?" I nodded. "I should have done it years ago. But I don't have a job, I don't have savings, what am I supposed to do now?" I stood. "That's not my problem anymore." I walked out of that cafe into the cool evening air. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. The divorce went through without resistance. Maybe it was shame. Maybe it was fear. Maybe, somewhere deep inside, Jack finally realized there was nothing left for him to hold on to, except the wreckage of his own choices. The $50,000 I'd moved from our joint account was accepted as part of the property division. The rest, the inheritance from my father, remained untouched. Untouched by them. Untouched by greed. Jack and his mother moved out. They didn't even try to fight it. They packed whatever they could and left in silence. No apologies, no tears, just the sound of suitcase wheels echoing down the hallway. And then, they were gone. In the weeks that followed, I heard stories. Jack, unemployed and drowning in credit card debt, was rejected from several jobs. Employers don't look kindly on candidates who've quit stable positions without reason. His mother had to move in with him, not out of love or loyalty, but necessity. The lavish lifestyle they had flirted with for 2 months evaporated overnight. They now live in a cramped one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city. Cheap curtains, peeling paint, the celebrity life reduced to second-hand furniture and unpaid utility bills. A mutual friend once sent me a photo, Jack in an ill-fitting polo shirt working at a warehouse, his mother behind him pushing a cart of discount cosmetics in a flea market stall. I didn't smile when I saw it. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt done. As for me, I sold the condo. Too many memories lingered in the walls, the silence, the resentment, the nights I cried into my pillow with no one noticing. I moved into my father's apartment, the one he had lived in during his final years. It's smaller, quieter, filled with memories that breathe warmth, not sorrow. Sometimes, I walk past his bookshelf and run my fingers across the spines of his favorite novels. Sometimes I sit on his balcony, where the wind feels like his hand brushing gently through my hair. And sometimes I just sit and breathe. No one is yelling. No one is demanding money or throwing laundry on the floor or asking me where the remote is. It's just me. And for the first time in years, I am enough. I still work, still take the train, still buy groceries and forget to water my plants sometimes, but everything feels lighter. I've learned how to be alone without being lonely. I take walks, I journal. I cook for myself, not because I have to, but because I want to. I talk to my father in my head sometimes. I imagine him smiling, proud. "You did the right thing, Kelly." I think he'd say that. One evening, I found a letter he had written before he died, folded neatly into a medical journal I hadn't opened until then. Just a few lines. "If you ever feel like you've lost your way, come back to yourself. That's where your peace lives. Not in others, not in approval, in you." I cried for the first time in months, not because I was broken, but because I was healing. It's strange how life becomes quieter after a storm. No more raised voices, no silent dinners filled with unspoken resentment, no footsteps I dread hearing. Just silence, and in that silence I've started to rediscover my own voice. Every morning I open the curtains and let the light in. It's the same sun that rose before, but now it feels different, warmer, gentler, like it's no longer something I have to shield myself from. There are days I still feel echoes of the past, days when I open a drawer and find an old receipt with Jack's handwriting, or when I hear a laugh that sounds eerily like his mother's sharp tone. But those moments don't hurt like they used to. They're just shadows, and shadows pass. I've started doing small things for myself again. I enrolled in a painting class on Sundays. I've always loved colors, but I never had time or permission to enjoy them. My fingers still tremble when I hold a brush, but I don't care if it's perfect, I just care that it's mine. I also started reading again, books I never finished, journals I once kept. Sometimes I find pages with my younger handwriting, full of dreams and scribbled quotes. Love shouldn't make you disappear. It should make you more visible. I must have written that in college. I didn't know how true it was until now. The apartment I live in is full of my father's spirit, his books, his plants, his old jazz records. I sometimes play them in the evening while sipping tea, pretending he's still here with me, nodding in approval with each brushstroke or recipe I try. I light incense on his altar every week. "Thank you," I whisper each time. "You saved me, even after you left." One afternoon I bumped into a neighbor in the hallway, a quiet man who always carried a guitar on his back. We talked for the first time. He smiled gently and said, "You seem lighter lately." I was surprised by the comment. "Really?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, chuckling. "You used to walk like the world was sitting on your shoulders. Now you move like you're finally breathing." Breathing, yes. That's what this is. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe one day I'll fall in love again. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll adopt a dog or move to a seaside town or open a small tea shop with jazz playing in the background. But whatever happens next, I know this. I am no longer someone who waits to be chosen. I choose myself. I choose peace. I choose beginnings. And this time I won't trade them for anything.